take your opponent by surprise. They didn't plan around that.
That's exactly right. We're just sorting out a few tiny little issues here, and it looks like we'll be very good to go.
Looks like giving, and this is a bit of a peek behind the sausage factory, but it looks like our back channels, we both have agreed that we are spectating the same game, and I think that's a good start. The question is whether our esteemed organizer is also spectating this game and you can see it. But it looks like we've got, is this, how are you pronouncing that? Pxlse, P-X-L-S, Pulse.
Yeah.
Well, interesting spelling of Pulse, but we'll go with it versus Bullutte, I'm guessing. Is that like a bull and a ute? That sounds very Australian. I think we can go with that.
Oh, like a bull ute, yeah. You got to take out one of the T's there, and it's the most Australian battle tag I think I've seen.
Well, that's the Australian approach to anything, isn't it? Shortening the words. So it looks like Bullutte is on Evolve Shaman by the looks of things. I mean, I'm not seeing any Evolves there, but I'm pretty sure I saw them throw away a Doppelgangster from their mulligan, so we're going to assume there. And Pulse didn't say it looks like they are on Paladin. We can't see their hand because I'm only spectating one of them. I think if we were friends with both of them, we would be able to see both of their hands. So I wonder if I can... No, I think we would need to get Pulse to add us as friends as well.
That's right. So yeah, we can see Bullutte here on the Evolved Shaman, and Pulse is on the Murloc Paladin.
Excellent. I mean, that's a safe assumption, I think, these days, that people are going to be playing Murloc Paladin if they're playing Paladin. Yeah. Looks like Bullutte went to the rope for the first turn. Maybe they were just being accommodating for us to make sure we had enough time. Whereas Pulse has led with an early Murloc, Grimscale Chum, and then emoted that there was a mistake. What, because they didn't rope to the end of their first turn to give us time to talk? Who knows?
I believe the Grimscale Chun has not buffed a Murloc in his hands.
I'm not seeing anything sparkling there either, so that certainly implies that Pulse is sitting on an awkward hand. I mean, we could start making some guesses about what the rest of that hand is, given they don't have any Murlocs in hand. But until we see it, we're not going to know for sure. Looks like Bullutte has gone with the Primal Fin Totem, because that will get a lot of minions on the board in a hurry. I don't know. I think if your opponent has played a Grimscale Chum and not buffed any Murlocs, you got to expect... Oh, I was going to say, you got to expect they're going to be able to coin out a Rallying Blade to take out the Primal Fin Totem, but apparently a Murloc War Leader straight off the top will do just nicely as well.
Yeah, it will do just fine. And it's interesting to look at the Murloc War Leader post-nerf, because previously to this, we would have had one more health on the Grimscale Chum here, and it wouldn't have been as easy for the Primal Fin to trade straight in. So,
which is, I think, less of a disadvantage than people gave it credit. It is going to be a little easier to wipe the Murlocs off the board. It looks like Bullutte's gone with a Flame Tongue Totem, so they can trade their Primal... Ooh. Sorry, their Primal Fin.
It's a fantastic draw.
But Pulse is just drawing some perfect cards off the top. He's got a Rockpool Hunter so that the Grimscale Chum can take out the Flame Tongue Totem at no cost, and then was joined by a Righteous Protector, which is clearly one of the cards that was already in the hand, seeing as the that wasn't a Murloc that got buffed, so we're going to assume that was the kind of card they had in hand. I think things are looking pretty bad for Bullutte right now. He wants to be able to hold the board, and he has nothing on the board, whereas Pulse has everything on the board. Looks like Bullutte is going for the only play available, which is a Devolve, followed by a Maelstrom Portal. And it looks like it's paying off. We have, mousing over the Maelstrom Portal, we got a Snowflipper Penguin and a Wisp there, which are very easily taken out by the Maelstrom Portal, and a Shield Bearer, which doesn't have any attack. So while it can block minions from going face, I don't think Bullutte's going to want to go face anytime soon. He's going to want to make sure to keep Pulse off any minions on the board, and that Shield Bearer is just going to be a small speed bump than anything else. So that was a reasonably good comeback turn for Bullutte.
I think with the mana available, that was about as good a job as he could have done to, I guess, lower his opponent's ceiling there. And in this kind of matchup, it is entirely board-centric. In essence, barring a few different scenarios, whoever comes out ahead in the early to middle turns will win the matchup usually. It's all about board. It's all about getting the most out of your minions and really pulling ahead in the late game. And I mean, if you do leave the Murloc Paladin unchecked, you start moving into turns where there may be Blessing of Kings or Spike Ridge Steed. And if they already have an established board, those cards put them even further ahead. So it'll just be a matter of where, again, Bullutte can manage to keep up with the steam and the power of the Murloc Paladin. And it's just a really board-centric matchup.
I mean, the important thing for Bullutte to be doing here is to continue to keep Pulse off the board so that cards like Blessing of Kings and Spike Ridge Steed have no impact. Now, that was
That's all right.
An unusual turn from Pxlse. Pxlse played a Rallying Blade and then went face for 3 instead of taking out the Malchezaar's Imp from Bullutte, which I think was, I don't want to say a misplay, I don't want to be too critical, but that's not how I would have done it. Bullutte has come back with a Jade Lightning to take out the rest of the Shield Bearer, which helps by putting another 1/1 Jade Golem into play, and then also a Firefly. So now Bullutte has 3 minions on board, which hopefully they'll be able to leverage to keep minions off Pxlse's board. Pxlse's board. All right, the second half of the Rallying Blade did finally take out the Malchezaar's Imp, but all Pxlse had was a hero power after that, leaving 3 mana unspent. Sort of suggests that there are things like Blessing of Kings and Spike Ridge Steed in his hand, so it's going to be very important for Bullutte to make sure to keep all of the minions off the board for Pxlse going forward. Bullutte has drawn and played a Saronite Chain Gang, and then also the second Primal Fin Totem, giving Bullutte 6 minions on board. That's really going to be hard for Pxlse to recover from, unless he's also playing things like Consecration, which is possible, but even that doesn't deal with all of Bullutte's board right now.
What I found interesting was on that turn 4, when he equipped the Rallying Blade and floated the 1 mana and hit faced, he actually did have Blessing of Kings available to him, as well as the obvious value trade off the buffed 0/3. And now he's just picked up a Spike Ridge Steed as well. So it just seems that one decision from a couple turns ago is really coming back to bite him, because if he was able to have had that Blessing of Kings and taken the value trade on the 1/3 there, he would have been in a position possibly to Spike Ridge Steed the minion this turn and move forward. And we see the consequence of that decision now, a fantastic Saronite Chain Gang from Bullutte into a nice value trade with the Firefly, and he's just starting to run away with the board. And again, with Shaman, what you're worried about are cards like Bloodlust, Thrall, Evolve, things that can leverage these exact board positions into situations where you just can't win. So we're just seeing the consequence of perhaps not using the Blessing of Kings on curve there.
Absolutely. I mean, the reason you would be scared of playing the Blessing of Kings against Shaman is that they might be playing things like Devolve. We've already seen 1 Devolve out of Bullutte, but these days I'm pretty sure Shaman likes to run 2. Yeah. But I think being scared of the second one is just being way too overly cautious. I think Pxlse probably made a bit of an error there by holding back that Blessing of Kings. As you were saying, the important thing is holding the board and making that 0/3 Shield Bearer into a 4/7 Shield Bearer and taking out the 1/3 just would have allowed him to keep the board for much longer. And he would probably still have the board at this point had he had made that Blessing of Kings play.
Yeah, and I think you're very correct in assuming that perhaps Devolve was probably his biggest point of angst about the entire play. But yeah, and again, one of the skills of a Hearthstone player is to really juggle to what extent you play around particular cards and compromise what perhaps is the better play given your mana. As opposed to, just saying, all right, I'm not going to play around a particular card and just go for it. Whatever the consequence will be.
And, of course, Shaman could also maybe play a Hex. You'd be scared of the Hex. But a kind of an unknown to most interaction there is that if the Shaman happens to Hex one of your minions, giving you a 0/1 Taunted Frog, that frog is now immune to Devolve because it's a 0 mana minion. So if they were to Devolve, it doesn't get devolved. And that 0/1 minion is a great target for future Blessing of Kings or Spike Ridge Steeds because it then is immune to the Devolve. Most Shaman these days don't run that, so it's not the end of the world. But if you were truly worried about, say, Hex, that could be a thing you did. And given that Bullutte had already played a Devolve, I think you just got to assume that it's not there. It looks like Pxlse is trying to come back on the board with a Hydrologist into a Gentle Megasaur and a Secret, but that Secret was eye for an eye, and Bullutte is just continuing to hold the board. Pxlse is on 15 health, Bullutte is on 23. Bullutte has 6 minions, will get a 7th minion at the end of the turn. I can't see Pxlse coming back in this anytime soon.
I can't see a world either. And
assuming, knowing that the hand had no Murlocs at the start, I'm going to assume that they are Spike Ridge Steeds. I mean, you can see the hand. Is there a Sunkeeper Terror in there? That's just not a card you want to play right now.
The hand is clogged up completely. We have double Spike Ridge Steed, we have Tarim, we have Gentle Megasaur, and a bunch of cards that could not be played because the board position could not be leveraged or held.
Exactly, and that Blessing of Kings early in the game really would have, I think, just would have helped just build from there. And worst comes to worst, if Bullutte does have a second Devolve on hand, it countered your Blessing of Kings. That's fine. Bullutte would have had to sink mana into doing that, and you still would have kept the minion off the board. Anyway, I think we both agree that was the key play there. Not playing that Blessing of Kings is going to be what lost Pxlse that game, unfortunately for Pxlse.
Yeah, and I think while focusing on perhaps Pxlse's misgivings as well, I think Bullutte played that game close to perfectly, leveraged his board advantage, and just used the Flame Tongue there to make some nice trades to make sure Spike Ridge Steeds or nothing hinder his board progression, and just really closed out that game nicely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, sometimes that's what you've got to do is capitalize on your opponent's mistake and just close the game. Obviously, you think Bullutte would have been able to close it out a lot quicker if they'd drawn Bloodlust, but it wasn't necessary. All they had to do was keep Pxlse off the board and just continue attacking. Having 0 minions on one side of the board and 7 minions on the other side of the board meant it was going to be a long, hard fight for Pxlse to get back into it. And it looks like they've moved on to the next game. We've got Pxlse still playing his Murloc Paladin, whereas Bullutte has moved on to his, I believe we're calling it Hybrid Hunter these days. It's an interesting choice of deck name, because it used to be that we had Face Hunter and we had Mid-Range Hunter, and Hybrid Hunter was when you had this like a cross between the two, and that kind of is the pace that we play Hunter now. So people call it Hybrid Hunter, even though we're not really looking at the hybrid of two builds anymore. It's just what Hunter looks like.
It's just more like a standardized list, if anything.
I agree.
You don't see much deviation from the norm with regards to Hunter. And I find interesting, how do you take the standard Hunter matchup versus Murloc Paladin? I would seem to think Murloc Paladin can be slightly favoured if they can get out ahead early and, again, leverage the lead with cards like Spike Ridge Steed and Rallying Blade and whatnot. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. It's all about the board again. I mean, you may think that the Hunter hero power is going to be all about going face and getting the damage in, but Hunter is not going to be able to close out the game if they can't hold that early board and close it off. Now, the start that the Hunter is truly hoping to get is an Alley Cat into a Scavenging Hyena, and Bullutte kept a Scavenging Hyena in the opening hand, but they also kept a Bear Shark. They did throw away a Bittertide Hydra, but that meant only one more stabby getting a 1-drop, and I think that was probably a bit of a misplay. I think if you'd thrown away the Bear Shark, it would have given you a better chance at also getting a 1-drop to lead in to follow with the Scavenging Hyena, because that's the great draw that you want to get with Hunter, to be able to get that early game away from your opponent. Instead, Pxlse has been able to lead with a Valfin Inquisitor, which meant Bullutte's first play was turn 2 Galacca Crawler, and it just doesn't stand up as well. It looks like, unless Pxlse is going to be drawing poorly, that they're going to be able to contest this early board against Bullutte, and it's going to be hard for Bullutte to steamroll things out of control this way.
Yeah, and Pxlse has some interesting decisions in his hand. He is on the coin. Now, he has the decision between playing a Murloc Tidecoiler alongside a Righteous Protector or coining out the Rallying Blade. Now, obviously having Caster Vision, we know that Bear Shark's in Bullutte's hand, but the coin Rallying Blade play would do two things. First, it would be able to deal with the Galacca Crawler nicely, but then it would be able to deal with most things that Hunter can do with 3 mana as well, while keeping that Valfin Inquisitor intact. So I find it an interesting decision that he's chosen to play the Righteous Protector here, in trying to have, I guess, maybe the Rallying Blade value for later, rather than just getting the Rallying Blade out and just keeping that board lead and trying to steamroll that way. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not like you're going to get the Rallying Blade value with that Divine Shield, because it's about to come off. There's no way that Galacca Crawler just sits there scratching his head and not thinking about attacking it to take out the Divine Shield, because you know that there could be a Rallying Blade following. Righteous Protector is fantastic at protecting your early Murlocs. It looks like, obviously, that Pxlse didn't have a Murloc like a Rockpool Hunter to be able to buff the Valfin Inquisitor, but that doesn't mean that we don't have War Leaders or Gentle Megasaurs following. And so keeping the Murlocs on the board is very important, and Righteous Protector does a great job of that. Here comes the Rallying Blade on turn 3 to take out the Bear Shark. You might think the Hunter would be happy that the Paladin took 4 to the face to do that, but I'm pretty sure that the Paladin is very happy to get that 4-3 off the board. Pxlse has then followed that up with a coin and a Murloc Tidecaller. So Pxlse now has 3 minions on board to Bullutte's 1. And I don't think that's looking very promising for the Hunter at this point, especially given that the Hunter's hand has 4 3-mana cards and a 2-mana card and 4 mana. It's just not a good way to spend your mana for turn. He's just had to spend 3 of his 4 mana on a Rallying Blade. Sorry, not a Rallying Blade. It's because of the same, an Eaglehorn Bow. But then wasted a mana for turn. And the amount of mana you spend on these early turns is just so crucial at getting... Yeah. All right, so it looks like Bullutte passed the turn back with a 2-1 Galacca Crawler, and Pxlse now has the 1-3 Valfin Inquisitor as well. He's played a second Murloc Tidecaller. He's even hero powered out of Murloc, and his Inquisitor was able to eat the Galacca Crawler, leaving Bullutte with just half an Eaglehorn Bow in play, facing down 3 different Murlocs. And we're getting to the point in the game where you don't want Pxlse to have any Murlocs in play, let alone 3 of them.
That's exactly right.
The question would be whether Bullutte is running something like Unleash the Hounds at this point to try and clear out those Murlocs, But I suspect once you're running Bear Shark, you're probably not running very many Unleash the Hounds. So this could be looking a little bit dicey for Bullutte.
Now, I do find the decision interesting. The previous turn for Pxlse to not actually have gotten rid of the Galactic Crawler, just with the Houndmaster threat coming into 4 mana, could have actually been quite problematic for him if Bullutte did have the card in hand. So I find it interesting that he's taken the value trade now after the fact.
Absolutely. Yeah, Houndmaster is always a problem versus Hunter, but it looks like it hasn't panned out. I mean, I think the true problem here was not throwing away the Bear Shark on the mulligan, because the Hunter really wants that early board. And Bullutte, as a Hunter, is fighting back. He's struggling to keep the board. He's played a second Bear Shark. Pxlse still has the other half of the Rallying Blade, which can take that out. Pxlse has 5 mana and 2 Murlocs. And even though they're only 1/1 Murlocs, they were 1/1 Murlocs. Now they're 3/1 Murlocs thanks to the War Leader. And then Hero Power gets another one. The Paladin deck is just really good at turning those 1/1s into something a lot more threatening that can really keep the board for the Paladin so that the Hunter is going to struggle. And we see now that as we go into turn 6 for the Hunter, he's got a second Scavenging Hyena in hand. He's got a Bittertide Hydra, a Kill Command, and an Eaglehorn Bow. And he's going to have to use one of those 3 mana cards to take out that War Leader right now. And his health is getting too low. I mean, what else is he going to spend on his... Looks like he's going to Kill Command on the War Leader and probably, I'm guessing, the Eaglehorn Bow to take out another one of those Murlocs. It's not pretty. Pxlse is about to have his 6th turn with 2 Murlocs in play. You can see his hand. Is there going to be a Spike Ridge Steed here?
So there are 2 decisions, and I want to get your 2 cents on the decision, because we're assuming Bullutte's going to take the swing with the Eaglehorn Bow here to reduce the Murloc count. So Pxlse has the choice of Hero Power into Gentle Megasaur and have 3 Murlocs, and he's also picked up a Sunkeeper Tarim. So he has a Sunkeeper Tarim, a Spike Ridge Steed, and Gentle Megasaur available to him as well.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Bullutte at all. Just to be able to get 6, and as you say, Sunkeeper Tarim is another great 6 mana play, where if your opponent has no minions on board and you have 2 1/1 Murlocs, suddenly you've got 2 3/3 Murlocs and a 3/7 taunt to your opponent's nothing. This is not pretty for Bullutte at all. And you really need to mulligan hard as a Hunter for that early game to try and keep the... Yep, and there it is. Sunkeeper Tarim's just sealing the deal for Pxlse to even the matchup. I think we're looking at I don't know if we missed a game early on, but we're looking at 1 each for each of these players so far.
Yeah, I believe it'll be 1-0.
Yeah, Bullutte's drawn a Flare, which he is just cycling away to see what he can get. But being on 11 health and facing down 2 3/3s and a 3/7, I think Bullutte is down and out in this game. He could play the Bittertide Hydra in his... I don't know that would go very well for him.
Yeah, we see the concede coming out there from Bullutte, and the Tarim being extremely strong. So again, as we were talking about, these first 2 games have been board-centric matchups. Whoever wins those first few early turns and then can kind of leverage that board lead to a win will be the guys walking out with the win. So we see Pxlse there doing well, managing his Murlocs, and the Rallying Blade there, and the interaction with Bullutte keeping the Bear Shark being one of the deciding factors here. So we're seeing some, I guess, marginal kind of mistakes, if you will, again, not to be too harsh, from each of the players, and even showing you the importance of the mulligan there. Like you said, you want to start with Alley Cat. Your Hunter, you're going first. You're going to need a 1-drop to start that board fight against the Hunter. So some interesting decision-making there.
Absolutely. It's so tempting when you're starting out in Hearthstone, and I know it sounds very arrogant, conceited, like starting out, because I've been playing this for so long. Actually, I think I have been playing this for a while. Is that Bear Shark looks so tempting in the opening hand. It's like, that's a 3 mana play. I have a 2 mana play. Let's see if we can get a 1 mana play by throwing away 1 card. You really need that 1 mana play. I think you have to throw away the Bear Shark. Hunter, in particular, has 11 billion 3-drops in the deck. You don't need that Bear Shark as your 3-drop. You're going to get a 3-drop. What you're hoping for is that you also get a 1-drop. And even if you were leading with just Jeweled Macaw on turn 1, even if you have that and you get to run that into one of their minions, that Scavenging Hyena is almost as good as a Bear Shark on turn 2, because you got to trade away one of the beasts you had on turn 1. And of course, Alley Cat, if you can get Alley Cat, I'll have a turn 2 6/4. That's going to be pretty good too. You really need to force yourself to be disciplined enough to throw away the cards in your opening hand to make sure you can get that opening curve that you need. And we talked earlier about needing the edges. We play enough games of Hearthstone over a longer period of time that you've just got to make sure that you are getting those games where you can have the incredibly strong opening as much times as possible, because when you get a fair game like this, someone else may run away with it, and it's that difference that may be the difference between you having a 55% win rate or a 45% win rate, and you don't want to be on the south side of 50%.
Yeah, and I find it super intriguing, especially if you're newer to the game. Those decisions that you make in the mulligan that you might not even think about again can literally be the difference between winning or losing. If that bear shark being thrown away was an alley cat, again, what game could have been alongside the scavenging hyena? Completely different game. So, again, your mulligans being extremely important, not just the decisions you make. Turn 1 through to X. It's just even the pre-game decisions, super important.
I mean, you're always going to have a turn 1 decision, and you're always going to have a turn 2 decision. And if you get those decisions wrong, you may not have a turn 5 or a 6 decision. So you've got to bank on those first few turns being correct. It looks like we're on to the next game, and it's a hunter mirror match. They're both playing hunters. Well, we talked earlier about lineups. We didn't expect everyone to be bringing hunter.
Yeah, we did, but we see Pxlse opening super strong there with the alley cat into the scavenging hyena animal companion curve. So I can't quite see what's on Bullutte's end, but it looks like it's going to be quite a game.
So you can see Pxlse's hand and I can see Bullutte's hand. Well, I can tell you that Bullutte has accidentally made into 2 Savannah Highmanes. He does have a tracking and a kindly grandmother and has drawn an animal companion for the first turn. I don't know. Do
you coin out the kindly grandmother?
I think you kind of need to, which is not great because ideally looking at this hand, assuming your opponent doesn't do anything, you're like, well, I'm going to coin out one of my Savannah Highmanes on 5. I've got tracking on 1. I've got kindly grandmother on 2. I've got animal companion on 3. You let those alley cats survive and you stay 1 extra turn waiting for the kindly grandmother, you may not get a 5 or a 6 turn to play those Savannah Highmanes. I think he kind of needs to coin out this kindly grandmother now. And then next turn, use that tracking to maybe find another card that's going to do some damage or at least get into play.
I think the biggest problem Bullutte faces is the way his curve is going to smooth out over the course of the game, especially if he coins out the kind of grandmother here.
Absolutely. He's got tracking to hopefully find a 1-drop on turn 2, and he's got animal companion on turn 3. But as you say, if Pxlse has the scavenging hyena, he's still going to be having a lot of difficulty to capitalize here. Well, actually, that's not necessarily that true. If one of these alley cats trades into the kindly grandmother, it creates a 3/2 big bad wolf. The other alley cat, I think it's Q cat, needs to then trade into the big bad wolf, making it a 3/1, and the scavenging hyena will be a 6/4. Now, that's obviously very imposing as a threat, but it's still not that far off from being killable. And so
that's exactly right.
Bullutte may take some early damage here. This kindly grandmother on turn 1, and I do absolutely agree that it's the correct play to coin it out, may be able to contest this board, whereas if he had tracking on turn 1 and played kindly grandmother on turn 2, it may have been way too late.
Is there ever a world, it looks like what Pxlse is doing, where you play the scavenging hyena but ignore the kindly grandmother so you don't bring out the 3/2 body?
I think that's certainly a play. Given that Bullutte has used the coin and only has 2 mana on his second turn, we don't have quick shot anymore on Hunter. There's no real easy way for Hunter to take out that scavenging hyena short of playing Arcane Shot, which, between you and me, nobody plays. I've seen the deck lists.
That's right.
Now, if one of those, if Bullutte's kindly grandmother trades into one of those alley cats, and it looks like Bullutte has drawn his own alley cat and he's leading that out, I think this is going to get a bit dicey, to be quite honest. If he trades into one of those alley cats, the scavenging hyena is going to turn into a 4/3. I would have played the tracking first. I don't know. I mean, it's always good practice to play your card drawing first. See what your decision is going to be before deciding what your 1-drop is. But I can't think of a 1-drop that he's going to be able to draw off the top, which is better than playing the alley cat. So you lead with the alley cat. That seems fair. And here's the tracking just as his rope turns up. Eaglehorn Bow, Kill Command, or Galaka Crawler.
You'd have to think Eaglehorn Bow is the take there.
No, he's taking the Kill Command, and I think I agree with him, because if this scavenging hyena gets out of control, right? If it gets truly too big, you don't want to necessarily face tank it with your Eaglehorn Bow. That Kill Command, if you have a beast in play, is going to let you take out that scavenging hyena. So I think I like that as a pick there. So he then ended his turn trading his kindly grandmother into one of the cute cats. Pxlse has a 4/3 scavenging hyena and a 1/1 cute cat, and Bullutte has a 3/2 big bad wolf and 2 cats. Now, I'm guessing Pxlse is going to trade one of his cats for one of the other cats, making his scavenging hyena a 6/4, but that means that Bullutte will be able to trade back as long as Pxlse doesn't play anything else. So it's going.
Pxlse does, he does have the availability of Animal Companion to him, as well as Direwolf Alpha and Kill Command. So he has some really interesting decisions to make. I mean, among the decisions are there is a world where the Direwolf gets played, and then the cat can value trade, I guess, into the Big Bad Wolf. You could even consider Kill Commanding off the Big Bad Wolf and trading one of your 1/1s into the Alley Cat or the Tabby Cat.
I think Animal Companion is probably fine.
That seems like the correct play.
Every choice that you can get, every random outcome is a good one. Now, he's attacking with Cute Cat first. I would have Animal Companion first myself to see if you do get to trade that Cute Cat. It's not called Cute Cat. As you say, it's Tabby Cat.
Yeah.
Well, he's going with the kill command on the big bad wolf and trading his cat into one of the other cats. Now, this is the big question. Does he go face for 6? He does. I would have traded for that Tabby Cat. I know that 6 face
straight into the kill command of Bullutte.
Not only the kill command Bullutte has, but the deadly shot he just grew off the top.
Oh, interesting. So which do you go with in this situation there? Do you go with the kill command because you have the beast available right now, or do you go for the deadly shot to try and preserve the damage for later?
I think you kind of want to use the kill command. Now, you're way behind on life, and Bullutte's gone with the deadly shot, but there is every chance that you're going to see like a bit of Hydra or something out of Pxlse in the next few turns, something that your kill command is not going to kill, and you're going to want the deadly shot for that. But he went with deadly shot on the Scavenging Hyena, and that's fine. Now, it looks like Pxlse has managed to Animal Companion up a Leok. Would have been great last turn instead of the kill command, because that would have allowed the cat to trade with the big bad wolf instead of the kill command, but that's fine. Bullutte is now playing a tracking because he's got 4 mana and he drew tracking and he's got 2 of the 3 mana cards, so why not? He's taken a Crackling Razormaw. I didn't get a chance to see those, but I'm pretty sure there was a couple of Houndmasters. I don't know that you want to leave the Houndmaster behind. And then he played Animal Companion, getting a Leok of his own.
Speaking of Houndmaster, Pxlse has the Houndmaster available to him here, and given this board state, Houndmastering the Leok and being able to take out Bullutte's Leok seems like the play. Among the other options, we do have Direwolf Alpha, Eaglehorn Bow, and Kindly Grandmother, but I do not see how you can go past the Houndmaster here, being able to value trade off the Leok of Bullutte.
I don't want to describe this play as backbreaking, but if you can Houndmaster that Leok, crushing the other Leok, things are looking pretty good for you. Now, we know that Bullutte is going to be able to Animal Companion to take out the rest of that Houndmaster. Sorry, not the Houndmaster, the Leok. But, okay, so Bullutte's got 5 mana. He's just drawn an Eaglehorn Bow, so he can play the Crackling Razormaw he tracked before last turn, and either Eaglehorn Bow or Kill Command. We've got to assume that it's... Actually, we don't have to assume. I guess you Crackling Razormaw first to see whether you can give your Tabby Cat Poisonous to take out the Houndmaster. Then you can use your Eaglehorn Bow to take out the... Sorry. Crackling Razormaw for the Tabby Cat to take out the Leok, then your Eaglehorn Bow can take out the Houndmaster.
For poison or attack here, we're looking for.
And we've got Stealth, Poisonous, or Divine Shield. Looks like Poisonous is the one. Poisonous can take out the Leok, and then you can Eaglehorn Bow to take out the Houndmaster. It's still not fantastic because he's taking 4 face damage to go down to 18 for that. My daughter is trying to tickle my foot while I'm talking. But it does look like Bullutte has been able to turn around this board. He's got half an Eaglehorn Bow. He's got a Crackling Razormaw. Next turn he has 6 mana. We know he's got 2 Savannah Highmanes he's going to be able to play. And Pxlse currently has nothing on the board. I think what Pxlse wants to play this turn is a Savannah Highmane of his own. And I can't see his hand. Can you tell me, is there a Savannah Highmane there?
Which he does, and I think the best player, and again, going into the Savannah Highmane turns isn't particularly great. He does have an Eaglehorn Bow to deal with the Crackling Razormaw. Among his other options, he still has that Direwolf Alpha, a Kindly Grandmother, and a Scavenging Hyena here. So I think it is safe to assume that the Eaglehorn Bow will take out the Crackling Razormaw here, and maybe a Kindly Grandmother follow-up, which is a bit awkward, but going into a Savannah Highmane turn, it seems like Bullutte's maybe going to pull ahead in terms of strength.
Absolutely, I agree. Like, there's not a lot he can do about the Savannah Highmane, and I think the Kindly Grandmother is a great follow-up to the Eaglehorn Bow, simply because the second half of Bullutte's Eaglehorn Bow doesn't deal with it very well, and that means that it's going to be better for Pxlse to have a beast in play at the start of his following turn. And it looks like Pxlse has gone exactly as we said. And of course, being able to play out the Direwolf Alpha on his turn means the Kindly Grandmother will be able to attack the 2 as well. Now, Bullutte's just drawn his second Deadly Shot, meaning his hand has 2 Savannah Highmanes, Kill Command, and Deadly Shot. The Kill Command isn't spectacular against the Kindly Grandmother, but it does feel like, as long as Bullutte doesn't get burnt out in a hurry, that he's going to be taking control of this game quite easily.
Yeah, I think so, and maybe the Kill Command will be able to finish the game a little bit earlier than anticipated. That conscious decision before of the Deadly Shot as opposed to the Kill Command, maybe he had this kind of very bored state in mind where one of the Highmanes does manage to connect for some damage, and then the Kill Command can snatch the game away and make up for that health difference there.
So, I mean, and maybe Bullutte was thinking, as you say, that if he can land a Highmane, his opponent's going to be thinking, oh, I've got to race that. And it looks like Pxlse has just played an Alley Cat, and he's hero powering Hera powering Bullutte down to 16, then probably attacking with the Kindly Grandmother to 15. If Pxlse is thinking he's going to be able to race, that kill command might be the difference between a race that Pxlse thought he could win and one that he can't. And there's the Direwolf Alpha as well, so the Kindly Grandmother is going to attack for 2. It's attacked into the Savannah Highmane. So I don't know. I guess
imply that the that the Eaglehorn Bow is going to finish off the Savannah Highmane.
It certainly did. So there's a couple of hyenas coming out of there. That's put Pxlse down to 18 life. The 2 hyenas are probably going to be able to value trade quite happily into the Big Bad Wolf and the Direwolf Alpha, leaving Pxlse with a couple of 1/1s. Alternatively, of course, you could use the second half of your Eaglehorn Bow to take out the Direwolf Alpha. One of the hyenas can take out the Big Bad Wolf, and then the other hyena can eat one of the cats and survive. And that looks like what Bullutte is doing here. So Bullutte's passing the turn back with the Savannah Highmane and 2/1 hyena in play to Pxlse's 1 alley cat. Pxlse has 2 cards in hand and is on 18 life. Bullutte's on 14 life. So I'm guessing Pxlse, he's played Scavenging Hyena and the Unleash the Hounds he got off the top. It looks like...
I find that extremely interesting that he did not choose to play the Scavenging Hyena with spare mana last turn, though.
Well, I think it was because he was assuming that the Eaglehorn Bow might be able to take it out. But he's traded all of his minions in, giving himself an 8/5 Scavenging Hyena, which unfortunately is playing straight into Bullutte's Deadly Shot. It looks like Pxlse had a great start this game, and it kind of looks like Bullutte's been able to turn it around. A Bear Shark, Deadly Shot taking out the Scavenging Hyena, Savannah Highmane going face, and a Hero Power puts Pxlse to 10. Pxlse is drawing a card off the top, and I can't for the life of me think of what it could be to...
Picks up a Deadly Shot. It doesn't seem to be able to make a difference, knowing that the kill command's there waiting there. So it looks like Bulutte's going to take a 2/1 lead here and looking good this series.
Yep, it doesn't even matter which one of those minions the Deadly Shot hit. It was still not enough, and Bullutte had enough to finish it. And just for reference, Bullutte's hand is the kill command, a Bittertide Hydra, and a Galacca Crawler. So not pretty for Pxlse. So Bullutte goes 2-1 in the match. We don't know what either player has banned, but so far we haven't seen any priests. I imagine maybe if they were playing priest, they probably had each of their priests banned. If they were playing it, of course, I guess we've seen Hunter decks, and we've seen Evolve Shaman and Murloc Paladin out of these players. It looks like they're both tending, as you said, for an aggressive lineup. So maybe their approach is banning priest and targeting Jade Druid by being aggressive. Maybe that's their plan. Maybe that's what they're going for.
And it's funny to see the 2 lineups that perhaps are, looking to be aggressive against the big 2 go head-to-head. Makes for some intriguing games.
Yeah. It's like, this is not what I expected to play against. Oh, no. Now I have to figure out the Hunter mirror match. All right,
so going into game... rocking the Paladin.
See, there we go. It's almost like they have the same lineup. They both have Paladin, they both have Hunter. All right, so now that I have Pxlse on my friends list, I don't know whether I maybe need to stop spectating to see his opening hand or not, but I can tell you that Bullutte's opening hand is a Rockpool Hunter, a Hydrologist, and the Blessing of Kings.
So he has missed on that turn 1 play.
He has. No, he hasn't. He threw away the Blessing of Kings and got back a Vastwine Inquisitor. That's exactly the turn that card he wanted to get for it.
Well, rewarded for correctly throwing back the Blessing of Kings.
Oh, yeah, I think I would have erred on the side of throwing back the Hydrologist as well, just to hopefully really get that 1-drop that you want to get against Hunter. But he was rewarded, and that's fine. He now has a turn 2 Rockpool Hunter if he needs it, a turn 3 Hydrologist, and a Secret if he needs it. It seems great. And the first card he's drawn for the turn is a Bone Mare. Now, obviously, he's not going to get that in a hurry, but it's going to be pretty good.
Now, we do have the Alley Cat available here for Pxlse as well. He actually has 2 Alley Cats in his hand, among a Tracking, a Galacca Crawler, and a Deadly Shot. So it'll be interesting to see what he's going to do here, especially with the 1/3 in mind. That's awfully scary to look at, especially knowing that your Alley Cat is extremely susceptible to trades from the Vilefang Inquisitor. So he does play one of the Alley Cats, and I believe he's just thinking about whether he perhaps maybe wants to play the other to contest the Vilefang Inquisitor and perhaps play a Galacca Crawler on 2 and curve out from there. So, I mean, that Vilefang Inquisitor drop is absolutely huge in the context of Bullutte's chances of success this game.
Yeah, and I think if Pxlse was tracking the card that Bullutte threw away in his mulligan and saw that it was the Vastman Inquisitor that came back, he might be grinding his teeth a little right now. It's funny, for a while there, Hunter lists like this were also running things like Hungry Crab, and if Pxlse had been playing Hungry Crab, or even Bullutte had been playing Hungry Crab, the Paladin on Hunter matchup would have been possibly an entirely different picture. Now, Pxlse has gone for a second Alley Cat. He's played Alley Cat, Coin, Alley Cat on turn 1, putting 4 1/1s into play nice and early, which is pretty dominating. But of course, Bullutte's been able to come back over the top, making his 1/3 Vilefang Inquisitor into a 2/4 with the Rockpool Hunter. So Bullutte's passing the turn back with a couple of 2/3s across from Pxlse's 3 1/1s.
So Pulse does stick to the game plan of the double 1-drop on 1 into the Galactic Crawler on 2, and he has picked up a Bear Shark, and he also has the option of Deadly Shot for his 3-mana turn here. So it'll be interesting to see whether he throws 3 of the Alley Cats into one of the Murlocs to try and stem the bleeding, or whether he chooses to go all face. What's your opinion on the trades here?
I think you do want to trade those 3 cats into one of the 2/3s. Yeah. I mean, we know how this goes. If you leave minions on the table for the Paladin, A, they'll use them to clean up your minions, and B, they'll start buffing them, and they'll buff them big. So as much as you want to go face as a hunter, I think you need to keep those minions off the board in the early game. Once you get to the mid game, if you've managed to keep their board clear, then you can start going face and use your hero power to get your reach that way. And it looks like Pulse is doing that. He's traded 3 cats into the Valve and Inquisitor, leaving them each with a 2/3 on board. It's still a bit dicey for Pulse because a 2/3 Murloc going into Bullutte's 3rd turn can be dangerous because you never know what's going to buff that 2/3 Murloc to take out your 2/3 Galactic Crawler. Looks like Blue's gone with a Hydrologist instead. He sees Eye for an Eye, Getaway Kodo, and Repentance. I guess Getaway Kodo is the one you want there.
You're really looking for Noble Sacrifice or Redemption there out of those secrets, given this board state. You kind of whiffed on those.
He's taken Repentance, which I don't know that I would have taken, but I guess it's going to help keep Pulse's minions fragile as far as trading with things is concerned.
It's funny, Pulse picks up a Kindly Grandmother, which is an interesting interaction with the Repentance on the other side of the board there.
All right, Kindly Grandmother, you have 1 health. It's like, yes, I do. No, you've been given 1 health. Oh, okay, cool, thanks. But of course, given that Pulse has 3 mana this turn and can choose between Kindly Grandmother and Tracking, or Deadly Shot and Bear Shark, I would assume that Pulse is going to go with Bear Shark. Look at that. Either he's stream sniping or he's just psychic. He's led with the Kindly Grandmother, who's had her 1 health changed to 1 health.
If you are correctly talking about sequencing this turn, though, do you think it would be more correct for the Galactic Crawler to have tried an attack on the Hydrologist to first check for the likely secrets being either Redemption or Noble Sacrifice? And then, if you get that attack through, that's when you should be playing the Kindly Grandmother, because you might have been better off playing Bear Shark instead, given what the secret could have possibly been.
Absolutely. There's a real priority for checking for secrets. You want to check to see, as you say, whether it's Noble Sacrifice. All right, it's not Noble Sacrifice. That means it could be Repentance, Redemption, what's the other one we just talked about? The Getaway Kodo. These are things that could trigger and make a difference. Right? Once you've figured out that it's not Noble Sacrifice, you're narrowing your choices down, and then maybe you're going for the other one. On top of that, you led with the Kindly Grandmother and then played the Tracking. So I would have done his entire turn completely the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, and can you talk to players who may be newer at the game? Can you talk to them about the importance of what we would term sequencing or ordering?
I think so. Looking at your hand, that you have a few different options this turn. So we're talking about the hand where Pulse had 3 mana. He had Bear Shark, Deadly Shot, Tracking, and Kindly Grandmother. So you're either playing one of your 3 mana cards, or you're playing a 1 mana card and a 2 mana card. Once you decided that you're playing the Kindly Grandmother, you know that you're also playing the Tracking, right? But Tracking could give you a 2 mana card that you could also play. It could also knock a couple of cards off the top of your deck that you know that you need to plan around. It's important to get that information before you know that you want to play the Kindly Grandmother. Now, you know you're playing the Kindly Grandmother, but you want to make sure you know that why you're playing the Kindly Grandmother. And you may also, I guess, the Crackling Razormaw could be a card you can play instead. So the important thing is you want to get that information on board before you do it. Also, as you said, you want to tank with your Galactic Crawler just to figure out what the secret is or isn't before you decide whether you're playing Kindly Grandmother and you're Tracking. So you want to go, okay, I've got these decisions to make this turn, and there's some unknown variables. I want to figure out what the unknowns are before I make my decisions. And it seemed like Pulse made those decisions backwards.
And talking about the value of ordering, it's Bullutte's choosing to have played the Wicker Flame first and the Hydrologist last. Again, as you say, that might have been the turn regardless, but it is worth seeing what the secret could have been off the Hydrologist to see what you're working with and to see if the landscape of your turn could have changed. You want to have those, give yourself the options first in the turn, and then decide once all the options are available to you and you have every piece of information available, then you decide on your course of play. Whereas if he's Hydrologist last, because he's used all his mana by playing Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle first, he doesn't know if there was a secret that he could have gotten that might have changed the landscape of his turn. He might have wanted to play a secret in Hero Power, but he doesn't know that as he's played Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle first, so he's closed off the potential other decisions by playing the Hydrologist last.
And if we look at this as well, we're looking at Blutte's hand is Bone Mare and the Secret, right? So he knows next turn he's probably playing the Secret, probably hero powering, and hoping that whatever card he draws off the top is a card he can play. Whereas if he had played the Hydrologist, the Secret, and a Hero Power, then next turn he can play Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle, and the Hero Power. It doesn't matter what the top of his deck is anymore. He's used his mana well over the next couple of turns. It's not like Pxlse has any minions on the board that you need the Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle and play right now. You can play it next turn still. So yeah, I do think there's some sequencing either side there. Well, Bullutte's been rewarded. Ooh, okay, he's drawn a Gentle Megasaur, but it looks like he wants to play the Getaway Kodo. Why would you play the Getaway Kodo when you could Hero Power? And
you would think Hero Power Megasaur is the play here, and perhaps you can pick up something that can, either give the Hydrologist Death Rattle or something that can allow it to trade cleanly into the Bear Shark, keep the Divine Shield on the Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle, especially because you're moving into that Bone Mare turn. If you keep Divine Shield on the Wicker Flame, that's absurd.
Just want minions on the board. All right, so he has gone with the play that we suggested. So I guess shout-outs to Bullutte, who might be listening, or maybe he's actually just figuring it out himself because he's a smart guy. That's possible. He can see Divine Shield, Taunt, and something that doesn't do anything, and he's chosen Divine Shield. Having Divine Shields on all of his Murlocs seems fantastic. So he's just traded the 2 Divine Shields from his Wicker Flame and the Hydrologist to take out the Bear Shark, leaving him with Wicker Flame, Hydrologist, a 1/1, what do they call it, a Silverhand Murloc, I believe it is, with a Divine Shield.
That's right.
And a Gentle Megasaur. Yeah. So Bone Mare is going to find something to suit up next turn, and I think this looks pretty good for Bullutte.
I really like the double trade there from Bullutte into the Beast there to shut off Houndmaster possibilities.
Yeah, I completely agree. And knowing that Pxlse has a Houndmaster in hand, it just made that even more the better. I mean, while we talked about Bullutte's 5th turn maybe being sequenced incorrectly, I don't think it would have made a difference. Even if you weren't able to take out the Bear Shark this turn, I don't think the Bear Shark was going to stop you bone marrying the turn after. So
yeah, that's right.
It paid off. And while you might say, well, it paid off, maybe his decision was right. Just because it worked out doesn't mean that it was correct. You should always self-evaluate your own turns and go, maybe I could have played that better and play it better next game, because there is going to be a game, I can guarantee it. We play enough games of this wonderful game of Hearthstone. There are going to be enough times where if you did make the decision incorrectly, it won't always work out, and you want to have that edge where you made the correct decision more often than not.
That's right. You can't just have a results orientation to say that it worked out on this particular occasion that my play was flawless. Like you said, you always need to have the critical visor on and evaluate the plays objectively.
Oh, okay, all right. So Pxlse has played the Crackling Razormaw. Unfortunately, no Battle Cry, but then he's Houndmastered it up, so he's got a 5/4 Taunt and the 4/3 Houndmaster. Bullutte has drawn a Spellbreaker. You probably want to Bone Mare this turn, but you could also Spellbreaker to take this the Taunt and the +2/+2 off the Crackling Razormaw if you're feeling particularly nasty. But either way, I think Bullutte is very happy with how this game is going for himself.
Is there ever a world where we Bone Mare the Divine Shielded minion, trade into the 5/4, and send the rest face?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the play I was thinking of making. I think you want to get the... currently, a Divine Shield on a 1/1 does very little. You turn that 1/1 into a 4/4, then your Divine Shield has got a lot of mileage as it just takes out the 5/4. You're trading the Divine Shield for a 5/4, and that's fantastic. And then, as you say, they have a 4/3 left. They can kind of tack into some of your stuff. You could maybe consider trading for that Houndmaster if you wanted. It's not really that important. You may as well get 9 face damage in, knocking your Hunter opponent down to 19 while you're on 30. It's on them to trade with you now. And the only thing the Houndmaster can trade favorably at this point is taking out Wicker Flame Burn Bristle. There's a 5/5 Taunt it can't trade with. There's a bunch of other stuff that's not got Taunt that it can't take out. So yeah, looks like the Houndmaster has taken out the Wicker Flame Burn Bristle because that's all it could do. I would say Pxlse is on the losing end of this game very easily.
For sure, and it looks like if Bullutte can manage 2 points of damage, he will be able to close out the game. He has 17 on board right now. We do see Pxlse does have the Deadly Shot available to him, but I do not see many situations where he can actually climb back into the game and put himself in a winning position. He can prolong the suffering for a bit longer, but yeah, I do not see him winning this game.
Yeah, and we know that Bullutte probably can't find 2 damage off the top of his deck, but we know that given he's on 30 health, he doesn't need to. Mm-hmm. All right, so the Deadly Shot took out the Gentle Megasaur. Now Bullutte only has 12 damage on board. That's fine. That's plenty. It looks like the Hydrologist is probably going to finish off that Houndmaster, and the 2 5/5s are going to knock Pxlse down to 9, I suspect. Bullutte's hand is a Getaway Kodo, a Spellbreaker, and a Grimscale Chum. He doesn't really need any of those for any reason. He's just going to run out the Chum and Hero Power. I guess he could play the Secret as well. But at this point, the Getaway Kodo would just get him back at 1/1. Oh, and he's Spellbreakering the Houndmaster. He's just getting his minions on the board. I mean, you could say that that leaves Pulse with some outs like now.
Unleash the Hounds or something. Yeah.
Unleash. Pulse has been attacked down to 7 life. It's not going to happen.
No.
But it still is a little reckless in my liking. Animal Companions just given Pulse a Leok, which meant the Houndmaster could trade with the 5/5 Silverhand Murloc. He's still dead, though.
Yeah, I mean, he taps out there. Pulse is thrown in the town. It looks like Bullutte takes the series 3-1. I'm a big fan of Bullutte's decision making, especially towards the tail end of this series.